It was a cool but sunny autumn Sunday afternoon, spent with new friends who lived in the Bavarian countryside about 40 miles outside of Munich. We'd enjoyed a substantial home-cooked lunch, and then we went for a Sunday afternoon walk. This is what Germans do on a Sunday afternoon. And that walk even has a name. It is connected with the digestive aid. Yeah, that's serious. Imagine our surprise when our host struck out over an abandoned field, it seemed to us, to somewhere. We didn't know where. But the uncertainty of that destination wasn't what was perplexing to us. It was that we were on someone else's property without permission. And so we registered that anxiety and we said, okay, can we just walk here? Like, who owns this and why are we walking on their property? Well, they just threw their heads back and laughed and laughed and laughed and said, oh no, we can walk anywhere in the country. It doesn't matter. Everyone does it. Well, that was one of myriad culture shocks. This is minor, but it was one. And now it's a reverse culture shock. When we take our car and we drive just outside of Fresno into the foothills and we'd like to park the car and just walk for a bit, hike a little. But there are fences everywhere. Have you noticed that? Fences everywhere. And when you park your car alongside the road, people will question what you're doing there. And they will stop and ask. Oh yes, we've experienced that too. As Americans, we have a very refined and specific, deeply entrenched sense of property and ownership and trespassing. We know who owns what and where the property line runs. Now, you know, there are defined communal spaces, we get that, but they're often associated with an entry fee. Like at Woodward Park, for example, or the national parks and even some of the state parks. You have to pay to get in. Community isn't always free in our culture. We don't easily consider ourselves one tribe. It's I own this and you own that. Or I own this and you don't own anything, depending on the situation. It's us and them, my people and those people. If I've paid for something, I get to decide who comes in or uses it or walks on it, and on and on and on. Now, cultures differ one from the other, and believe me, Germany definitely isn't one of the cultures that are most community-oriented on the globe. They have a very strong sense of who belongs and who is an outsider. They also clearly define what's appropriate behavior in certain situations. Just to clarify, when considering differences and different points of view that are actually diametrically opposed, how do we hear a message of unity, being one as Jesus prayed? Cultures based on community will hear this very differently from people who value their independence. How can we be one? Do we even want to be one? This may sound like giving up our own rights and our identity, and we can look at examples of what happens in those cases. And how can we be one when so much divides us ideologically, theologically, politically? It's actually an important consideration for those of us who are connected with the United Church of Christ, either a deep connection or a peripheral one as being an attender here. So our UCC heritage is built on exactly this passage from John 17, Christ's prayer that we all are one. The songs we sing reflect this commitment. You might have noticed, we are one. We live beneath a common sun. Other times we sing, draw the circle wide, or a big table with room for everyone. Do we think about those words and how we live them when we sing those songs? This razor-thin margin in these midterm elections show yet again, they tell the story of deep divisions, which means tensions in neighborhoods and in the workplace, rifts in families, churches pitted one against the other with an aversion to the power and control of the empire on the one hand versus an alignment with empire as influence on the other. Thinking in terms of us and them, mine and yours divides us. When we do this, it's not neutral. These judgments have an edge, unspoken usually. What we mean is usually is my way is better, it's right, it's more desirable than yours. Therefore, it's you that has to change. Biologists and chemists and physicists who study genetics and DNA inform us that we have so many similarities and high percentage of DNA that actually unites us, that is the same. Some say up to 99.9%. So the statement, there is more that unites us than that which separates us, truly is founded. If we hearken back to the Genesis poem about the origins of the cosmos, the language used there is for humans being created from the dust of the earth. Yes, the dust of the earth, in turn, contains the dust of stars, we're told by a team of researchers at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. The same is true for the natural world around us. Humans have the same elements in our bodies that are found in nature. So why do I go into this scientific minutia? We humans tend to consider ourselves completely separate from nature, creating a sense of hierarchy and superiority, even domination. What follows leads us to organize around our own people. In and of itself, that is somewhat inevitable because similarities do unite us. We most certainly can acknowledge and celebrate our differences. The concept of the melting pot really hasn't served us very well. The tendency becomes problematic, however, when our tribes tend to build fences to keep ourselves safe and to keep other tribes out. Recognition and celebration of our differences will lead to open acceptance. Division resting on similarities to the exclusion of differences quickly become an echo chamber or a silo, keeping us from seeing each other's value and humanity. If you think about it, we all have one common ancestor, and that is the planet Earth. We all have the same creator who inhabits and holds and allows this cosmos to keep exploding. The one who sent a representative to the earth to exemplify love and inclusion. Jesus was constantly challenging the norms of his time, pushing the envelope to include women, non-Jews, people of questionable repute. He was laser focused on uncovering the hypocrisy, ruthlessness, and the inhumanity of the religious elite, those perpetuating the established religion. When Jesus prays about everyone being one, he recounts his mission on the earth to draw attention to the one who sent him. In the indigenous translation of the New Testament, which Lisa read, this one is referred to as the Great Spirit. Jesus, the Great Spirit, and all followers, past, present, and future, are wrapped into this prayer for unity. Author, teacher, and Episcopal priest Barbara Brown Taylor writes about how she experienced what she calls holy envy. She recounts how she moved from the narrow confines of her denomination, first into darkness, which simultaneously frightened and expanded her, and then to learning how to live in harmony and close proximity with multiple world religions. In this book, Holy Envy, Brown Taylor tells stories of visiting many religious centers while she was the professor of world religions at Piedmont College. And she writes, and I'll read a longer quote. Once at the end of a field trip to the Atlanta Masjid of Islam, the imam ended his meeting with students by saying, "Our deepest desires is not that you become Muslim, but that you become the best Christian, the best Jew, the best person you can be. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, thank you for coming." Then he was gone, leaving me with a fresh case of holy envy. And then she continues, I could do that, I thought. I could speak from the heart of my faith, wishing others well at the heart of theirs, including those who had no name for what got them through the night. It might mean taking down some fences, but turf was no longer the reigning metaphor. I was not imagining two separate properties with a boundary line in the middle and two neighbors leaning over this shared boundary. I was imagining a single reservoir of living water with two people looking into it. It is recognizing that all of creation has elements of stardust in it. Is this not honoring the kernel of truth found in people's expression of faith around the globe? Is this not the cosmic Christ of whom our scripture says he existed before all things and all things are held together in him? Colossians 1:17. We are one tribe and there are no fences. Differences? Absolutely. But as we read in Ephesians 2:14, Christ is our peace. He is the one who came to the earth to break down the barrier of hatred that divided us. Suddenly, mine becomes ours. I believe it is not coincidental that Jesus spoke with this astounding revelation in the context of prayer. Prayer wasn't a form or a time filler for Jesus. It wasn't something he did to impress or to coerce or to prove a point. It connected him with the spirit world, sending his voice to the Great Spirit. Again, using language from the indigenous translation. Jesus knew that unity would not come by creating more rules or following a guru or through punishing people or coercing people into a new way of life. Unity can only come from a place of prayer. Think back to our time of prayer earlier this morning, to the time where you thought of someone who is exceptionally difficult for you to accept and understand and love. We did not pray to change this person. We didn't pray for a conversion experience. We didn't lash out with every reason we could think of that we cannot tolerate this person's behavior or belief structure. No, we spoke this person's name before God. Nothing more. In the moment we did this, we were one. And as we are in the presence of God, our humanity arises to be able to overtake the differences. This is the birthplace of unity. Only in meditation, in the holy space inhabited by the divine, can we let go of our prejudices, our obsession with being right, our need to be better and faster and stronger and more intelligent, certainly more spiritual than our neighbor. Only here can we be released from our desired outcomes and allow the wish for control to crumble. This is the gift of prayer. As we unite and dismantle fences, we can do more. We can be more. We can impact our world more effectively. An important motivation for us to be together week by week is to reaffirm our commitment to God, to each other, to humanity. We remind each other to love God with our heart and soul and mind, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. This is what holds us together. And parallel to this reminder that we cannot love our neighbor as we love ourselves if we regard them as being unequal. If we cannot see them as a tribe member, we cannot be united. Our commitment to honoring others always allows people from many different backgrounds to worship together. Unity isn't uniformity. Uniformity demands compliance. Cultivating unity is the foundation which invites respect and releases us from coercive tactics. As we pray for unity and cultivate this unified tribe, fences will come down. Not the fences that keep us from walking on someone else's property, but fences that keep us fearful and judgmental and isolationist. I pray that all may be one. May it be so.